Hey everybody, this is Bill Murphy here with MMORPG.com, and this is MMOFTW, the week that was in MMO news. Now let's skip all the formalities and get right to it, shall we? First up is some Warhammer 40k Eternal Crusade news. The game has been kind of quietly chugging along in development, and it was announced this week that the Founders Access will begin this fall with a 16 versus 16 sort of PvP map where you'll be able to play as the Chaos Space Marines and the regular Space Marines to really help the devs test a medium-sized fight between two squads. There'll be consumables, all the different classes and all that stuff, vehicles and everything will all be there. But the other two races, the Eldar and the Orcs, are going to be coming at a later date with what they're calling the Founders Beta, which will be an undisclosed amount of time after Founders Access begins. And Founders Beta will be the full-scale MMO beginning of the beta. So if you are a founder, you can look forward to this fall finally getting your hands on Eternal Crusade in some form, with basically what I guess you'd call it like a battleground. It's a match-made system with little servers always hopping around and stuff like that. You'll be able to hop in and play and, start up your clan and get your clan grouped up and play and all that stuff. But the actual MMO part of the game isn't going to be coming out for beta access until a little bit later, it seems. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. And in Final Fantasy XI news, it seems that the console version is shutting down. That means the Xbox 360 version and the PlayStation 2 version will no longer be available in 2016. The PC version will remain online, but they're already announcing that the final expansion is in development. It's going to wrap up the storylines. There is just one more expansion to come for Final Fantasy XI. Probably, honestly, one of the first generation of MMOs, like, greatest triumphs, if you ask me. Like, Final Fantasy XI, it may be archaic now and antiquated, but it was still one of the best MMOs I remember playing in my youth. And in any case, for those players who maybe don't want to see the game go, or maybe they don't necessarily want to play the PC version anymore, they're actually announcing, Square Enix that is, has announced a partnership with Nexon to bring a modified version of Final Fantasy XI to mobile, which is going to be on your tablets, your phones, and all that stuff. You'll be able to play through the storylines in a solo format or multiplayer format, and it's just really weird. There's not a whole lot of details to go on exactly how they're going to do this and what it's going to play like, but I guess we're going to have to keep our minds open to the idea. I think it's kind of cool personally, because think about some other MMOs that close down or maybe are in their sunsetting, and you might want to revisit them in some way, shape, or form even after they close down. Wouldn't it be cool if Auto Assault were to have like a mobile version or an offline version that you could just play around with? I think so. Personally, I think it'd be cool just to go back and feel the nostalgia, even if it's a shell of what it formerly was. And in WildStar news, let's move right along. They're getting a brand new contract system, which they announced with their next big drop. The contract system is a lot like Guild Wars 2's reward track system. So what you'll do is you'll do little bite-sized chunks of content. You'll get rewarded for each one of those chunks, whether it's like getting this many multi-kills, or getting this many kills of a certain enemy, or collecting this much of a certain item, like daily achievements sort of. And as you do these little achievements, these contracts, you'll work towards a greater, more epic reward at the end of that contract path. So it's really cool, a great way for like solo players to have something to do in the game, both while they're leveling and at the end game, in between instances and PvP matches and stuff like that. They detailed the full thing on their own website, and you can read more about it on MMORPG as well. And continuing with some NCSoft news, we've got a couple. Guild Wars 2 this week, during Res, they unveiled the new Desert Borderlands World vs. World map. I'm just going to quickly touch on this one because it's going to be added to World vs. World's map rotation. You can really see there's a lot of scale, a lot of sense of verticality to the map, a lot of stuff that they must have learned from the Edge of the Mists Edge of the Mist, is that the right one? Yeah, the Edge of the Mist is like their overflow map for World versus World, and you can see they pulled some ideas from that and brought it into this, along with the Silver Waste map. Really looks nice. Looks like it'll add a little bit of diversity to the Borderlands maps, and we really can't wait to see it. It'll be coming with Heart of Thorns later this year, hopefully. And in other NCSoft news, it seems that NCSoft's financial well-being, according to Daewoo Securities, this analyst firm, NCSoft's financial well-being really depends on whether or not Lineage Eternal does well when it comes out, and whether Guild Wars 2's expansion does well. If both of those things are to underperform, or one of each of those things is to underperform, it means that shareholders will more than likely let Nexon do the hostile takeover that we reported on a couple shows ago. However, if Guild Wars 2 and Lineage Eternal both do well in their respective markets when they're released, this Daewoo firm believes that it will have strong enough numbers to convince the shareholders that NCSoft knows just what it's doing. And what's more interesting about that than those two things, because I think that's kind of common sense, common knowledge really, is that WildStar doesn't seem to factor in there at all. It's not doing well, as we know from the quarterly earnings, but WildStar, from what I have been told, has big plans for this year, some ideas on how to get players back and things like that, and we're just going to have to kind of wait and see if maybe if WildStar turns its ship around and turns its fortunes around, maybe it too will help NCSoft maintain control of its operations and stay out of the hands of Nexon. And in some interesting news, with the Shroud of the Avatar campaign, it seems that, we talk about these Kickstarter campaigns and crowdfunding campaigns a lot, especially with Star Citizen having a bazillion dollars in their pockets now, but this little game that could, Shroud of the Avatar, actually is over $6 million and counting. We've been highlighting the game quite a bit on our website. We have live streams with Star Long and Richard Garriott fairly often to see how it's progressing. It has been up and running in 24/7 beta access now, or I guess early access, because it's actually still alpha, for quite a while with very little downtime. They've had bi-weekly content updates, and they're basically running a live game, and it keeps getting better. And so it's really good to see that it's got a strong core community pitching in and buying things like castles that they get to live in and stuff like that. You don't see me spending $1,000 on Shroud of the Avatar because I don't have $1,000 to just give one game. But it's nice to see that that Richard Garriott and Star Long and all those guys down in Austin have found their audience and found their stride and are making the game they want to make. So I'd keep an eye on it, because it probably will be releasing at some point this year to the wide general public, and it's going to be one to watch. And last but not least, in Hawken news, that's right, Hawken, this sort of this multiplayer shooter / MMO thing that's built up of mechs battling each other, kind of like MechWarrior Online. There was always supposed to be some persistence and some larger scale online persistence with Hawken, and it never quite saw that from the studio, but it has been bought up by Reloaded Games. And Reloaded Games, if you might remember, is the same studio that bought up Real Time World's APB. They bought up APB and turned it around and turned it into a profitable game, and it seems that that's what they want to do with Hawken. Now, Reloaded Games is making a name for itself by buying Western-made MMOs that don't necessarily do well and finding a way to make them get their own little niche audience. So if you're a fan of Hawken and you enjoyed that sort of fast and frenetic Call of Duty-like experience inside of mechs, you'll be happy to know that it's not going anywhere. It's bought up by Reloaded, and it will be coming soon. There'll be a lot more news about what they're going to be doing with the game, so keep your eyes peeled for that on MMORPG.com. And I think that's going to do it for this week. I think I covered everything, and my mouth is drying out from all this talking, so I'm going to go ahead and shut up. Thanks for watching, as always. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook at MMORPG.com without the dot. If you're into that sort of thing, you can also follow me on Twitter at TheBillMurphy. And as always, I guess this is the part that you guys like a lot, right? Or hate. I'm never sure which. Remember, don't let a bad pug get you down. Ooh, see, I added that bit to the end. All right, I'll stop. I'm done.